from there. And yeah, apologies for that. Actually, we'll not even do. We'll just jump right in because I've got way too much background music recording. All right. So at this point, everybody should see you. They should hear me. They should see it all.
Let me see if Sean can hear us. He can. I think we're good.
Yeah, wild. Yeah, so I appreciate everybody sitting around, Sean and the Restream bot, sitting around waiting for this to actually work. This is my second time actually doing audio and capturing Zoom at the same time. And it tells. It shows, basically, if that was not apparent for you, Daniel. But yeah.
We got it working.
I am so happy that this is working. I just hit record on Zencaster too, as well as our other backup audio choice. And then I am now adjusting Windows because I'm going to share my screen eventually. Yeah, so the way this is going to work is... Actually, why don't we just go to introduce each other? Everybody knows who I am. I'm Brian, and I've been doing mutual fund streaming. Mutual Fund Live is my name now. That's what I'm going for. We'll see if that sticks. I've gone through a couple different names for this. And I now have Daniel, who's from OneGraph. I've been using OneGraph for a good part of a year now. Off and on, but really consistently since the summer on a project I've been working on. But Daniel, you want to explain OneGraph, what you do, and how you got here?
Yeah, sure. So OneGraph is a single GraphQL API for all your favorite SaaS APIs. So we make one nice, consistent interface for all of those APIs and draw connections in between them. And then we also we have authentication so that you have consistent authentication between all of the different services.
Sweet. And this is like a startup? Like, would you consider
so we were in YC. I always forget the year and the season, but it's a year or two ago. And so we're just trucking along.
Okay. So YC, you go through YC and you get like a seed round once you've completed it? Is that how that works? Or it's not guaranteed?
So YC themselves, they put in a little bit of money. And the main program is like 3 months, and then you present at demo day, and then hopefully you get some investment. Some startups do, some startups don't. Most do, I think, at this point. But so we raised a little bit of money, and we're
excellent.
Now we're just working on getting users and building something people want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want OneGraph. I've been using it, so. I'm going to switch over to sharing screen too as well. And this is also going to be a trip, but I think it's going to be not as hard as audio. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and transition us to a different little mode here. Still working out the cropping and everything like this on the stream is kind of odd. I was sort of trying to do this with my son sitting on my lap and watching YouTube videos. It was like super challenging because he like wrestles my arm down, so this is as good as it's going to get for now. But I have here the OneGraph site, and just for people who just want to get familiar with what it looks like as well. There you go. I'm just going to crop that there. But one thing that was mentioned to me is actually not just OneGraph, but it was OneBlog. So I don't know if I know there's a GitHub repo. I don't know how far you've gotten in the last week of like having the feature shareable within the UI, but
we don't actually have like a landing page or really even like a good description of what it is. At the moment, it's just like a few people who are using it, and we're trying to make sure that everything works well for them, especially people who are blogging on it.
So, is there a GitHub repo then? I can.
Yes, if you go to OneGraph.com or github.com/OneGraph/OneBlog, gotcha. It's got a repo. I think I've updated the README on that one, so it's all correct.
It's ready for reading.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I went through the sort of like the process of testing this out either last week or the week before, and like what I wanted to do, bec- I think it's going to be super useful. So I was super impressed with how OneGraph does their change logs, and I talked to Sean about this a while ago. But what is the OneGraph change log? Actually, let me go to my example OneGraph, and I can sort of the show. Sorry, when I say OneGraph, I really mean OneBlog. And I forgot whatever the generic name I used to make this work. So bear with me.
Oh yeah, it should show up in our repo somewhere.
Yeah, it was.
And we try to stick it into the repo description, but occasionally, oh, I saw one block.
OneBlog. Oh, did I call it OneBlog? Okay, yeah. So I guess it creates a OneBlog for you. All right. And I guess the way I can, maybe you can help explain this, but I've got a bunch of like random issues that look like they're random, but they're actually blog posts. And I've got a URL because it's actually hosted at Netlify that looks like this.
Yeah, so those look like they were all imported from Medium.
Yeah, so I did the Medium import. So it looks like
Nice.
I need to scroll down to some of my legit issues. Actually, even better, I have a Jamstack blog that I was testing it out with that has less content. So instead of trying to, so I'm going to go ahead and sign in. Probably beneficial to show at least where it is. And I think it's Pleasant Power. I think it's the OneBlog.
Those are the auto-generated names we.
Yeah, do you use a like a npm package for that?
No, Sean just created a list of two
name
words,
generators and throw them together?
And they pick a random one from each side, and it creates a list.
Yeah. When I was at Netlify, we had the same thing too as well. And like we just had a bucket of like tons of dictionary words. And I think before I left, they changed it to generate, it's like a random word, but then some sort of scientist or technologist as well. So it's got a name and a word because we found the random generated words. It could be a crapshoot. Like literally, there could be two words that could mean something else that was not intentional. So just to avoid that in general, they just removed that. Or they changed up the word buckets. So the two words has to be a name, and then I think that's
I think Netlify has a bit of a harder problem than we do because they need their names to be generic across all of Netlify, right?
Yeah, because they're using the netlify.com namespace, but I think April 14th, I got an email about this. April 14th, they're switching to netlify.io, so very similar to github.io, which will help combat that a bit. Not combat that, basically prevent the namespace collisions. I also, same thing with like GitHub. So like if you went to github.com/stars, like potentially you could have the stars org. But they have some basically blocked names, not blocked names. Yeah, basically names that you can't choose to be your handle. That and like about. But with that being said, GitHub doesn't use github.com anymore. They actually switched as well, like about 8 or 7 years ago, to remove all GitHub pages off of .com and onto .io. So if anybody wants to start like a hosting service, or you're doing stuff like what OneBlog's doing, or OneGraph, don't use .com. Use something else, because you'll have to switch off. Someone's saying
I always host other people's stuff on the
IO. And then I don't know. You know what it is? Someone's saying my voice is echoey. I wonder if we just roll right through it. But I think I know why it's echoey. But I'm not actually confident on why it would be echoey. But perhaps it's because. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, bear with me. I'm just gonna unclick a setting. Yep. Yeah, I wonder if that works. I don't know. You still hear me? Okay.
You're coming through loud and clear to me.
All right. If Sean or somebody else who's in the chat, let me know if my voice just disappeared completely. I can enable that back on, and maybe we just struggle through having an echo on my voice, and I'll figure that in the future. But I could just in the video that comes out later, I can actually what I think I'm gonna do. Sorry, this like inside baseball. I'm actually gonna take this content and probably make it a podcast because I already have the Zencaster going. But let's go back to the task at hand and talk about OneBlog and then Mo Danish. Perhaps just ping me if it's still sort of echoey. But yeah, what I was getting at is I do have a OneBlog site that actually is running here on this Netlify site, or is this perhaps this is the same one. Yeah, it is. I'm trying to. How did I do this before? I have this site here, which is called Jampix. But perhaps, like, maybe we don't even go down this path. Because I created an issue here that I was. Nah, that's not it. You know what it is? I thought about making it there, but basically my first blog post. This is where it is, my first post. So yeah, I did all that for nothing. So I was going to go a tangent because I thought I added OneBlog somewhere else, but it's still the same project. It just happens to be the first post. So
right, yeah.
What I'm getting at is that your issues will become your blog post.
As long as you put a publish tag on them.
On a publish tag, okay.
Yeah. So that way, so only admins are able to add the tags, but anyone can add an issue. So that prevents spammers from coming and just putting posts on your blog.
Ah, gotcha. I didn't even notice that too as well. So if I go back to not OneBlog, but to my original blog, which I think is here, I'll find that first issue, first postio, and there we go. So as long as I put my publish tag on there. Oh, excellent.
Right, yeah. And since you're an admin, you can add them, but a random person on the internet, while they could add an issue, they couldn't add the publish tag.
Yeah, because labels are actually limited to only participants of the project, or basically collaborators. So
yeah, I think you have to have some sort of admin right on the repo.
Yeah, so the way it works is if I went to OneBlog and tried to add a label onto this, actually something even easier, not even add a label, like someone says this is broken, I want to work on this, I can't assign myself. And the only way to assign myself is to saying, if I'm just spectating here, feel free to delete this. So if I comment on the project, then underneath the GitHub API, the way it works, if I refresh, I can now at least assign myself to the issue.
Oh, interesting. You can assign yourself if you've commented?
No, I can't because it's an org. Okay, so if it was if it wasn't OneGraph and it was like D Woelfel,
Woelfel. Yeah.
Look at me, just stumbling over your name. I should be able to assign myself, but I can't.
You didn't say waffle, so
yeah,
I'm happy.
But if I went to let me go ahead and delete that.
Well, here I'll try to make an issue on your OneBlog.
Oh, perfect.
Issue.
Yeah, so BW OneBlog, and issue 4 if you just want to drop in there.
Oh, okay. Well, I created issue 18, but I'll go back.
Oh, that's fine. I'll go to 18. You created the issue, but you can't label it.
And if I comment, I should be able to assign myself?
Yeah.
So I don't know how I can.
No, I still can't.
If I share my screen, you'll be able to see it, I hope. We'll see what happens. Is this working?
I don't see a screen share. Oh, here we go.
Oh, okay. So I don't see a way to assign myself, which is I think good for
Yeah,
for our
which
for
is
my
good.
use
Yeah,
case.
yeah. So I guess that is. I don't want to. Yeah. So I guess. Sorry, I'm gonna kill the screen share and then walk back here. I guess that we killed that or something because it used to work. If you just wrote a comment, it gave you rights to assign yourself to an issue and add labels. But I
Oh,
think
interesting.
maybe I talked about it too much and we killed it. But regardless,
But we
I
use the assignee as the author of the post, so that I would have to rethink some things if
yeah. So I guess
you do that.
no need to rethink because it seems like I'm over talking and oversharing because that no longer is a thing. Um, so the way I've been doing it is, and we'll go off on a little bit of a tangent. So I have this other project, open sourced, and if you go into, I'll just give you go into a random issue, 473, and type in the word dot take. So just
Dot two.
I have a GitHub action that actually assigns someone through it as um, for an issue. And I have it basically like the limitation is someone comes through and they say, "Hey, this is like super trivial. I could work on this," and I'm like, "Okay, sure." If you read the contributing MD, you should be able to say dot take. You're assigned. Proceed with working on it. I won't be able to like respond. Perhaps like a Sunday or a Saturday, I'm out with the kids all day and I can't respond really quickly. Like assign yourself, work on it, PR. Like that should be the path without me approving thumbs up or anything like that. Let me know when you're able to find the issue.
473.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I comment dot take, it'll
Yeah. So yeah, dot take, and it
you
should
should see
trigger
it.
a GitHub action here.
Okay.
Oh, yep, my assign GitHub action, and it's just a bit of bash code that basically just use the GitHub API to assign you to the issue. So yeah, that's in my because commenting telling people to comment on an issue and then have them assign it was not a good. It's not a good like onboarding experience for anybody.
Yeah.
This was my resolution for it that I've been using for this project, and so that way if anybody wants to make themselves an author of the post, like they can just assign themselves to like a GitHub action.
Oh, that's cool.
And it looks like it just finished too as well. So I think if I go back to the issue, I should see you assigned to it. Yep.
And you put in your own GitHub token to set that up initially?
Yeah. So I did not. I think the GitHub token is the one used by default, but I have to check
Oh, okay.
to. Yeah. So the GitHub token that's been given to you default by GitHub Actions, it gives you access rights to do things, low level things, so read only things, and some destructive things like assigning issues. Like that's okay. I think if you wanted to delete comments, you'd have to provide your own token. So like anything that's super destructive,
Hmm.
you have to provide your own token for, or another token with more rights.
Oh, that's really cool.
But yeah, so yeah, full disclosure, and I mentioned this a couple times on the stream, on one of my solo coding streams, is that this idea is something I talked with the Panis team about, machine learning project, and they went ahead and built it, and I just took their code to do it. But there's also existing GitHub Actions that you could also use that do very similar. You'd have to do some Google foo. Excellent. So I think we sort of like talked through a bit of OneGraph, OneBlog, and sort of how it works. We got the whole idea of your GitHub issues are your blog post. And let me switch back to this as well. So like GitHub issues are your blog post. What I would like to do is add one blog to my existing Mutual Fund Live project. So I'm curious if you're able to walk me down that path.
So there's a few ways we could do it. Um, so we could uh, add it to the mutual fund repo, but you probably don't want to do that because it's got all of its own code.
It's got zero code.
Oh, it's got
So right
zero
now
code. So
I'm using the
that might.
repo just for
So
I'm
that
using
might.
the repo just for 2 markdown files
Oh, okay.
and then some
Um,
issues.
so the other way we could do it is just to take your existing OneBlog and point it at this repo to get the issues.
Oh, interesting.
And then right now, like all of those, what you did when you first set it up is you went through the OneGraph flow.
Yeah.
So if you go into OneGraph.com and you go in the dashboard, there's like a sidebar that says create a OneBlog, and that clones the repo into your own GitHub account, and then it creates a Netlify site and
Yep.
creates a deploy. And it sticks all of the information it needs inside of environment variables in Netlify. So it's creating like secrets and tokens that it's gonna have to use, because all of those issues when it renders on the blog, those are fetched to live from the GitHub API through OneGraph,
Yeah.
using this thing called persisted queries, which is just a way for us to let anyone run a query with your auth, but only scope to like certain things, so they can't go and get anything you have in GitHub.
Okay. Interesting. So
So we can just change some of those environment variables. You'd probably want to do this off screen.
yeah, which I have a corner of the screen. I can actually switch to our heads too as well to do it off
Oh,
screen.
okay.
But so I'm curious. I guess I can just go in the Netlify too as well. I'm gonna do that now and see if you know what you're talking about. No, I'm gonna go ahead and check that out because actually I did not look at the project of the OneGraph project that was produced on my behalf. So let me just check that real quick. I don't remember. Oh, Adoring Bassi? Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh yeah, it should say on. Let's see.
Build and deploy environment variables. Yep, here we are. All right, yeah. So yeah, I'm looking at a bunch of. Okay, so it's built on Razzle. Is that correct? Which is like
Yeah, it's built on Razzle. So the reason we did that is because we wanted two things. We wanted a static site, but we also didn't want a build step when you added a new issue.
okay.
So it kind of gives you both. I don't know if it's the right trade-off.
Yeah. Are you able to explain Razzle too as well? Because I've only heard of it
sure.
from people using it. I don't really understand, or I'm not aware of like the background other than I think Jared Palmer is the creator. I saw it was under his domain or his GitHub. But
yeah, it's basically just create React app with server-side rendering.
out of the box.
Yeah, so it's got a server-side component, and on Netlify that runs inside of their I forget what they call them, but they're Lambda functions.
Yeah, Netlify functions is
Netlify functions, yeah. So it just runs in a Netlify function. It's a Node app,
Okay.
like an Express app.
excellent. Okay,
And
then,
so that renders the HTML, and that way Google can see it. And it also allows us to build a nice feed for RSS readers.
so I'm okay. Interesting. So that's good to know, and it sounds like there's just a lot of is Razzle really built for like people in the sense that they're probably going to use Netlify? Is that the intention, or can you use Razzle in something else like Now or Firebase? Or
Oh,
whatever?
yeah, it works with anything that has cloud functions.
Okay.
So
Oh yeah. So
we
Now
have
and
in the
Firebase would work.
blog in the README, it's got instructions for setting it up with Firebase, which is what we use for our changelog. And then it also has instructions for Now, Netlify. Netlify is the default because we had the easiest time using their API.
Yeah,
And then
that's good to hear.
the fly.io guys were nice enough to set up a fly config for us, so that's also in there.
So I'm looking at these the domain the environment variables, and it's pointing right now to BDuggy and OneBlog. So it's looking at
Right.
it's looking at itself essentially. I'm curious how would I go about changing that? Because right now it's on the mutual fund namespace, the org. Would I have to create a whole nother token and replace that as well?
It depends if you have access to it, it will probably work. So if you just change those environment variables, so there's two environment variables that you would change is
Yep.
the like Razzle repository owner and Razzle repository name.
Yeah.
And then if you change those two and trigger a build, um, if it doesn't work, it should fail the build, I would imagine.
Okay. So that's exactly what I'm doing right now as well. So I took out, let me see, screenshots. Yeah. So this is what I was looking at just for the sake of individuals who are following along on the video. Um, Actually, I don't know if this can actually even zoom any bigger now. Anyway, um, pretty self-explanatory. I had a GitHub. Sorry, it was Razzle GitHub repo name, which was OneBlog, and then Razzle GitHub repo owner, which was my name, bdougie. And I swapped that to mutual fund, and then the repo name was live. So now I'm triggering the new build here. That's what this is. I'm curious though, in comparison to like Next, Razzle, like, do you have like an experience with either?
Um, I have done a little bit with Next. We've built another thing with Gatsby, which,
Yeah, pretty similar.
well, I don't know. Gatsby is more of a static site. I think Next is a bit more dynamic,
Okay.
depending on what you do. So I couldn't really speak too much about Next's new stuff.
Cool. So while that's working, I wanted to take some time to also look through how is it actually pointing to the issues? Are you just like, I assume there's like some sort of GitHub API foo happening right now?
Yeah. So if you go back to your OneGraph account,
Yes.
you can see the queries that we
Oh, sweet.
store.
Um,
In the left-hand side on persisted queries,
where am I looking at?
it'll be
Oh, here we
in
go.
the sidebar.
So persistent queries,
Yeah, I think I'm
and
seeing a bit of delay. And if you scroll down, you can see some of the queries that are generated.
gotcha. Oh, interesting. That is genius.
So these queries are persisted with an auth. So it's using your token to run those queries, and
Yeah.
there are a few like almost like function parameters, the query variables that you can provide.
Yeah.
And so you can provide, you can't change the repo name, you can't change the repo owners. Those are fixed
Yeah.
when we persist the query, but you can change the issue number. Well, not the issue number, but you can get the issues.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, honestly, I didn't know about persistent queries in a project. So, like, why would I go with persistent queries here? Am I pulling these in, or is this getting pulled into the OneBlog as like a some sort of npm package or something?
So those are it's so the OneBlog itself uses Relay,
Oh, gotcha.
and Relay has really good support for using persisted queries and not really all of the plumbing is there, so you don't have to really worry about it. So if you go into the repo itself, the OneBlog repo that you have, and you look at like I guess maybe post.js is a good example in
Looking at
the GitHub repo.
my project itself.
Yeah, this one. I think post.js is maybe a good example.
Okay. So what am I looking at?
So if you find the GraphQL fragment, so there's a mutation too. But if you scroll down a bit, there should be a fragment somewhere at the bottom, perhaps.
Fragment container.
Yeah, fragment container will have the fragment itself. So this is what it looks like when you write it.
Yeah.
And then relay does some magic. It will scan through your entire project and find all of the GraphQL queries, and then composes them into a single query, and then persists that to the server, and replaces it with just an ID. So when it actually sends the query, instead of sending the query body up to the server, it just sends that ID, and then that's stored in the database.
Okay. And then
And we get the ID, we look up the query, we run the query, and we
okay,
return
it's
back to
stored
the
in
result.
OneGraph's database.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
typically, if you're going to use persistent queries, you need some storage, and so
Yeah.
we provide that for interacting with OneGraph.
So, but the benefit of using persistent queries over just copying and pasting and using my queries all over the place, like what I guess
So
what is the
the
benefit of for that?
so the main benefit that most people talk about is you don't have to send the full query body to the server, so you're saving that extra payload.
Yeah.
And you don't. It's the part where you can't gzip it, so you're actually saving all of those bytes
Interesting.
because you can't really gzip uploads
Yeah.
in most browsers.
Oh, that's cool.
And then the reason we use it for this purpose is we don't want people to run any query they want with your auth. So we lock down the queries that you can run and the fields that you can select. So that's the other nice thing about persistent queries. And so like Facebook only allows persistent queries in production, and that way people aren't sending crazy queries.
But how would
to
someone?
Facebook.
Excuse my ignorance, though. How would someone create any queries that they want with your auth? Like, are you able to just run JavaScript?
Well, the way we're doing it is the auth is like bundled up with the query, so that's why
Gotcha.
they can't. With
Okay.
a normal query they wouldn't be able to either because they don't have your auth token.
Gotcha. All right. So
But
yeah, if someone else perhaps looked at OneBlog and there was like some sort of login, because so I'm using open sourced. I'm using Off Guardian, which is another project, open source project that y'all maintain.
yeah,
And I'm not sure if that Off Guardian is also used within this as well, since it's not really a third party auth. But because I have access to mutual fund slash live, there's no reason for me not to be able to see the issues and present those as blog posts. But if I was trying to build this on top of one blog slash super secret project, I wouldn't be able to create issues or blog posts based on like a private repo, I assume.
yeah, it doesn't work super well with. Well, it's not meant for private repos as the backing store for this particular project for OneBlog,
Yeah.
because it exposes commenting and reactions.
Yeah.
So like a third party can come in and they can see your blog, and if they're not logged in, it's gonna send a persistent query to OneGraph,
Yeah.
and OneGraph is going to use the default auth, which is your auth, for your blog, and it will run those queries and cache it so that it doesn't eat up your API requests.
Yeah.
But then as soon as they log in, it'll use their auth. So it'll use their auth to fetch everything, and if they make a mutation, then it will use their auth to make a mutation.
Cool.
And we
So
don't store with you had the mutations up if you scroll back to the top. So this is like a relay specific thing that we built just for OneBlog. But if you look at the mutation a little bit lower, I think I'm watching it on a delay too, so it might take me a. So there's this
sorry, I should
persistent
probably
query
share my screen as
configuration.
well. Make it that easier. Let me. There you go. That should make it easier.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So now
So
you
yeah,
can see my
it
whole
doesn't
screen.
include the auth in this one because we don't want people adding comments as you.
Yeah.
So if you want to use this, you actually have to be logged in with your own auth. And if you tried to run it without being logged in, you would just get a normal 401 error.
Okay, cool. So moving on to as well, because we could probably wrap this up in the next like 10, 15 minutes. While we were all talking about this, I pointed it to a whole new repo. So hence why there's no information here. So the way you explained it is that, and apologies, it sounds like my son is fighting with my daughter. It seems to have calmed down a bit. If I add the word publish, is it published? Is that what it's looking for?
Publish, no ed.
Oh, publish. And it looks like I have to create that as well. Let's see. Why am I? Oh, here it is. Sorry, I'm like zoomed in like crazy. New label, publish. It should have asked me to create a label on the issue, but because I'm so zoomed in, I'm missing a ton of context. Let's see. This one. Publish. There we go. And then how often is it pinging the
So it will send a request as soon as it sends it directly to OneGraph.
Okay.
It might be interesting to look at the network tab to see what's sent. But it does have a 5-minute cache unless you're logged in.
Oh. Sorry, network cache. Let me go back to here. You're saying here? Check here?
Yeah, it might work the first time.
Yeah, looks like it did.
There it is. Nice.
All right. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I have so many questions about how this works, but it seems like explain to me how the polling works. Is this it hits OneGraph server, and then it tells Netlify to update through a Netlify function?
Oh no! So the Netlify function is just to render static HTML. So the Netlify function is running like a server-side rendered React.
Yeah.
And that way Google can find your blog. And then once it hits, so then you've got the statically rendered HTML, and then your browser will make a request to OneGraph. It will grab the latest issues from whatever repo it's configured to grab them from, and then display them here.
Nice.
So I guess the Netlify function also sends a request to OneGraph, so we get like a little bit of a double hit. But that way, you get like the freshest content when you load the page. And Netlify also, it's set up to cache this page, so it's got like cache headers to cache it for 5 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
and that way it doesn't have to hit that function every time.
Okay, yeah, and I noticed that too as well when I pointed it to the other project. I had to refresh a couple times just to get the new. I guess I don't know. Not sure how the cache invalidation happens on Netlify. I probably could have talked about it 3 years ago when I worked there, but I don't remember that. Pretty cool too. So I actually just opened up another window where I'm logged into another GitHub account just to see what the experience is. And then I wanted to see as far as like authing in. Oh, it looks like I got an error on adding a reaction. I wonder. Did I log in?
Did it show up on the blog itself? I mean, on the repo itself?
Let's see. Oop, I'm getting weird cachings. Oh, you know what? It looks like it's showing the old blog. It's pointing to the old blog now. But let me look at the issue as well. First issue. I think I actually added this reaction myself. So let's give it another hard refresh. Yeah, it looks like perhaps I hit an edge case. It's got
So it's showing you.
it's showing me the old version of the blog that was pointing to bdougie/mutual fund, or sorry,
Oh,
bdougie/
I see.
OneBlog.
Well,
It,
might explain why it.
yeah, so
I don't know.
I imagine it forgot where the repo is. Um, I'm also gonna let me go back to our. Actually, I think I lost our heads. Let me stop that real quick because I'm gonna go to my keys and I don't want to share that. Just see if the keys got updated. Are the keys stored on OneBlog side?
Which keys?
The keys for my repo and my name, or my org name.
So all of those are just environment variables.
Yeah. So those haven't changed. They look exactly the same.
Oh, okay. I see the error. Um, so for setting a, well, I don't know, actually know why it gives you the old version of the blog,
Yeah.
but for creating a reaction, I tried one just now, and the error I get is that the repo has the correct authorization credentials, but the mutual fund organization has enabled OAuth app access restrictions.
Oh, yeah. That's default. Um, yeah.
So one thing we could try, um, so the default OAuth app that OneGraph uses,
Yeah.
it's going to ask for like lots of things because we want to give people who are playing around in the Explorer a decent experience so that they can see all of the things.
Yeah.
So we also have support for creating your own OAuth app or OAuth credentials that you would store. So for the blog, you could create for your mutual fund blog, you could create a GitHub app just for that. Give it access to just that one repo, and just add support for adding issues or modifying issues.
Yeah.
And then when I log in, I don't see this like scary list of all of these permissions. All
Yeah.
I see is like it's a bit confusing because it's like it the screen says you can see the permission it wants is to see what resources you have access to. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah. I actually have it open. I think that's right here. Is this the screen I'm looking at? Let me share this again to you. Is it? No, that's not it. Let me share my whole screen to you. So I got this. I just opened it up in a private browser just to
Yeah.
see a different experience. Authorizing here. Oop, that shouldn't have worked. That's not a private browser. All right. Open it up again in a private browser, log in with GitHub. And then because it's OAuth, it's going to ask me for my password. It's also going to ask me for a code. All right. Which I don't have near me. All right. Do I have near me? Let's see here. Oh. Currently working with two phones at the moment. It's quite the challenge. My my old phone broke, but still has all my tokens on it, and I just
Oh,
don't want to go through that part of life where I have to switch everything over.
I hope you have the backup codes.
Yeah, and perhaps. Oh, I'm not even sharing. I'm sharing you my screen, but I'm not sharing everybody else my screen, so which is fine. If anybody wants to try to log in 30 seconds with my password. So this is the
Yeah, I think you've probably already been through the OAuth flow
yeah, probably.
and gave it the permissions.
Maybe it's
so then
cache.
you see,
Yeah.
and if you use your own, so I guess for people who are watching on the stream, there is an extra step where you have to click allow that OneGraph controls. If you're using our default auth, we want to make sure that different apps don't. If you log into a different app, you don't automatically grant access to your GitHub. So we add another confirmation screen. But you can get rid of that if you set a custom client ID and secret in the OAuth settings. So you can set your own OAuth app that OneGraph will use for you.
Cool.
Do you want to set that up now? Because it might take a few minutes. So we can.
Yeah, if you want to walk me through that, because I'm sure I will forget and then probably start doing lots of Googling. So first step is you said mutual fund.
Yeah, if you just create a new OAuth app, and is this shared to the Twitch stream too?
No. Right now they're just looking at our heads.
Oh, okay.
So I can't remember in the OAuth app section. Sorry. Do you want to? Were you asking because you want to see my screen as well?
I can see your screen, but I don't know if
no one else can see my screen. They can just see stills of our faces at the moment, which probably is not the best video. But let's do this. I'm pretty sure all sensitive information actually gets obfuscated. So I'm going to switch back to what I'm looking at. And then, so everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, so we're just creating a new OAuth app. Is this OAuth app or?
This is OAuth. Oh, did you need a
it's
GitHub app?
probably better to do a GitHub app, yeah.
Okay.
Because that gives you only access to the one repo that we care about.
Yep. See here. Fun. OneBlog. Okay. This is for. Because I'll probably need more than that. All right. Don't really need a URL.
So for the callback URL, I don't think you'll need it. But if you go, on the left-hand side in the settings and under auth services, there's a custom OAuth. And we want to do a new GitHub one.
This needs to.
So first we have to create the client on the GitHub side.
Gotcha. So
I don't think you need a authorization, but if it's best to do serve.onegraph.com HTTPS. /OAuth/GitHub/receive. And you don't need user authorization.
Okay.
I don't think. Yeah, that's just during the installation. We don't have to do that.
Okay. And then
we won't need to use webhooks at this point, and we just need to do for issues.
Read and write for
read
reactions?
and write, because you're going to have to. Yeah. And that's the only permission.
And then because this is BDougie and I want this on my org, am I going to need org access to as well?
I don't think so. I think because you install it on an individual repo, so it should be okay.
Yeah, but I guess it should be any account then, because I need to.
Probably.
Yeah, create this on the org level.
Because we'll have to install it on that mutual fund app. Oh. Oh, wait, one sec. If you do serve.onegraph.com/webhook/GitHub, but I think it's missing an E.
Yips. /GitHub.
Yeah.
And this is...
It won't actually work because
That's not real.
but I don't think we're expecting any webhooks. Oh, let's just make that not active, and then we don't need it.
I think since what did I call this? OneBlog. All right, here we go. All right, and I'll take off this one too as well.
I think that we will hide the secret, but better to do it off screen.
Where am I? Okay, here we go. Oop. Let's see here. Yeah, client idea, reveal. All right.
Hey, okay.
Got that working.
So now we just have to install it on the repo.
And when you say install it on the repo,
so that's like a GitHub
oh, gotcha.
app thing.
It's a GitHub app, yeah. So
typically it'll take you through that flow on its own, but if you find
the public listing page, oh, install app. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. It's in the settings.
Install on mutual fund.
Yeah, and it should only get access to issues.
Yep.
And so now if I log in, like, and test it, well, you could test it too. If you go to the OneBlog site and refresh, then when you log in, it should go through. Yeah.
Only wants access to.
So it has that weird resources permission, which I don't quite understand. But it only gets access to issues on this one account. I mean, on this one repo. So people hopefully won't be too worried about it. And then you don't have to go through that secondary step because it's a no-auth app that's only for this one app.
Okay.
Hey, it works.
And it works. All right, excellent. Yeah, so I guess to summarize, because I did something different where I already had existing OneBlog, because I went through creating the generic one and pointing it directly pointing it to a repo that wasn't the same repo as the one it was in. Had to do a couple other steps as well as create a whole nother GitHub app to circumvent the adding for all permissions, but also giving access to issues it's installed on. So there's a couple hoops that I jumped through because I just have a very unique situation where I have an organization where I'm trying to use this in, but I guess, did I summarize that correctly?
Yeah, I think anyone who's using it at some point will probably want to create their own GitHub app because then it doesn't ask for so many permissions just to comment on your blog.
Yeah, and the other thing,
but to get started, you can just use the default one that we have.
Yeah, and like I also wasn't even aware of. Maybe I actually need to take another tour through OneGraph because I've been using it, but I haven't really checked out the dashboard and the menu as haven't really kept up to date because I did not know you could actually prop in your own auth tokens in GitHub apps too as well because I'm using the generic one for one open sourced as well. So something we
should probably make that more obvious for people.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be doing that this actually tonight probably switch that over to because I do have an open source GitHub app as well that I was planning on using for other reasons. But yeah, I appreciate you taking me through this whole tour of OneBlog, getting it installed for my project. Also appreciate you sitting through all the audio issues as well as everybody else who's sort of drove by on the stream and said, "Hey, you're echoey." I know, but I don't know how to not be. And rather than stop the recording and because I do have a good recording on my end, so I can actually overdub the video with good audio, which I probably do late tonight, just for fun, just so I have good audio that I can have a video to look at later. Everything will look good after the fact, but if you were here on the stream, which I think we hit it like up to 8, I think, who were here at least one time on various places. Also, I don't know if I explained that to you. I'm streaming on YouTube mainly because it saves a YouTube video without me needing to upload the second thing. Also to Twitch because the community's there, and then Periscope because of awareness. Because if you see a Periscope video in Twitter, it's almost like
yeah.
people
Right at the
automatically just
top.
click it. Yeah, they'll click it for you, and because it's just me and the president and COVID-19 press releases. I'm showing up a lot in some people's streams because not a lot of people use Periscope. So that's that is my sort of like awareness campaign that I've been doing so far. And let's see here. Let me stop share and go back to OBS. Cool. Oops. Here we go. All right. So yeah, that was quite the ride. But I hopefully I'll make it up to you. I know this was challenging. But I want to hopefully use OneBlog pretty heavily for this project, which is mutual fund. And I'll probably maybe I'll run it by you and Sean, probably do like some legit like edited video of me walking through setting up a project. So that way it just exists and I can look back at it because
Cool.
all this was super useful information for myself to get started. To hopefully it'll be useful for other people.